Welcome to part 2 of my past life regression, finding my old grave video. Woo! This one's going to be more of a vlog because I'm thinking to film it as I'm going today, whereas part 1 was just retelling the tale. So, to recap, I died in LaPorte, and I have a hunch that my body is buried somewhere in this cemetery in Marysville. Hey, it's me from the future. So yesterday I did find my grave in Marysville. And I did film a vlog and film some stuff yesterday, but I didn't really do a good job of putting together a linear, coherent story just because I was more focused on being there and being present with everything. So I just want to narrate it today. So first of all, I just went into the town and I wanted to feel out the vibe of the town. And just had a really fun time walking around and looking at everything in the old town and in the Chinatown. First, I had breakfast at the Brick House Cafe, and it just clicked. I've always had this strange fascination and love of Marysville. I'm like, of course I've lived a past life here. Why else would every time I've ever driven through this town in my life, I just there's just like this sense of reverence and mysticism around it. Like, I just love this place. So of course, at some point I probably had a family there and had dreams to be something in this town that had dreams that it wanted to be something. But there's so many layers of history there. And back in the 1850s and 60s, and I don't know up until when, it was actually a really awesome place. And so it founded in 1850. So back when I was there, it was just getting started, and I wanted to find where I might have lived, but I'm pretty sure my house no longer is standing between all the fires and floods and just renovations. I don't think it is. And there's so many cool old houses that are great to look at in Marysville, but I think they're all from the early 1900s and not so much 1850s and 1860s. So it's still awesome to see, and it still gave me this weird familiar feeling to be over there. And I love walking through the Chinatown. I don't know how much time I spent there in my past life, but I can imagine with just me being who I am, I probably had a fascination for that place even then, because I'm pretty sure I lived a life in China as well. But I'm sure there was a language barrier, but I can just imagine that, like, I might have gone over there to get medicine from an herb shop for my wife when she was pregnant or something like that. Like, I probably found excuses to go over there. I don't know how common or how normal that would have been back then, but I just had a hunch. Anyway, so I get to the cemetery and I walk through the gates and I tune in and I get a vision of my funeral, and I saw my wife and my kids mourning, and I was in the back, like straight back sort of, by this big oak tree. And so this, by the way, this cemetery is huge. There's over 10,000 people buried here. It's no longer an active cemetery. All of the graves are from 1850 to the 1920s, I think is the latest. But there's people from all over here, and there's different sections. There's a Jewish section, a Japanese section, a Chinese section. Everybody had their own area because of the different practices that the different funeral practices. So there was just a lot to look through. And I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be over in one of those special sections because what I knew of myself, I mean, like what I've been picking up on is that I was a white male. I think I had sandy blonde hair and some sort of European descent. I think I was from Illinois, and I was maybe in my early 30s when I died. So I was going to look for graves that check those boxes and might also resonate with the name, the energy of the name, which, by the way, I felt like there's probably an L in my name, which is just a strange coincidence because my name currently has an L in it. But it seemed to, the L seemed to fit. And the more I thought about it, I didn't think I'd be buried by my wife because I died so early. She probably remarried or moved on with her life, so she could really be anywhere. Or if she was buried there, it would have been with somebody else or something. So I was just looking for a single male, probably. So anyway, I head back to that area where I thought I was, and there's nothing over there. And I see some graves nearby, and I'm looking at them. Is that me? No. Is that me? No. Okay, I guess I'm not over here. I looked at everything. So I decided to just go to the far west corner and just comb the whole thing and look at everything. And I did, and it took several hours, but I had fun. On a complete side note, that's crazy. I don't know if y'all have heard of Black Bart, but he was a famous stagecoach robber in the area. And, well, I found him. So I go through the whole graveyard. Is this my grave? No. Is that my grave? No. And near the end of it, I'm beginning to doubt myself. Like, okay, maybe I am just imagining things, even though I felt it very strongly, like it's real. Maybe I am just crazy and I just feel things that are real that aren't true. So I was about to just give up. But then I decided to message my uncle, and I sent him a picture of the map of the cemetery. And I tell him to get out his dowsing rods. So he prints out the map and lights a candle, gets out his dowsing rods, and he asks, "Am I in the graveyard?" Yes. And by the way, I think one of the reasons why it would have been impossible to find my grave is because apparently the records of people buried from 1850 to 1870 in the cemetery were lost, because the first undertaker there took the records when he quit, and they're just gone forever. So that just made the whole thing seem even more impossible, because I knew I must have died probably in the 1850s or 1860s. So there's that, and also there's so many floods in this area. Sometimes there had been some years where the flooding's been so bad that the gravestones have been damaged or washed away entirely. So it could be that there's just no record and the stone no longer remains, right? Anyway, I get a text back from my uncle, and he circles a part in the map, and it's the same area that I first thought I was. And so I run over there, and sure enough, there's just a little rock and there's a vase. Like, they knew there's a grave there, but there's no longer a marker or a name there. And I just feel, okay, this is it. It felt right. And what a feeling to be standing over a body you used to occupy. And I don't really know how to explain it, or if I fully was able to even comprehend it, and I think I was able to have that vision of seeing my family at the funeral because I was with them in that moment. And I probably stayed with them for a while. And I can only imagine how my soul must have felt after the brutal end to my life. And then I also felt this guilt about leaving my family behind. So there was definitely some unfinished business, which makes sense that I'd be discovering this now in my current life, and maybe now I have a chance to process this more and get a higher perspective of things. So I spent some time with that grave. I left an offering and I laid there on top of him and just sent some good energy his way. Prayed a little bit, and I journaled that night about what happened and how I must have felt back then. And I gotta say, the themes from his life were very relatable to things I've experienced in my life. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that I was able to connect with this person in this life. As to who he was, I don't know if I can get a name. I was able to go find some old records at the library in Marysville, but like I said, they don't have any of the old ones. They're just gone forever. Convenient, right? So, he still remains nameless. But for now, I think I have what I need. So, I'm still kind of in awe that this even happened because I've never done psychic detective work like this before. But it was really fun. And that's it for now. Thank you for listening. Have a good one.